Before we get started, somehow I've got severe hay fever in January. Hello and welcome to Woke Watch. But this episode is somewhat different because we're not going to take one item and deconstruct it to show how fucking stupid wokeness is. No, instead, I'm going to play the woke bastards at their own game by using the privileges which they insist I have to get my point across. As a cisgendered straight white man, I apparently spend every waking moment oppressing anyone who isn't inside my demographic and riding roughshod across the opinion of anyone who dares to disagree with me. So if woke people are to be believed and only straight white men ever get their voices heard, then I'm using my privilege to get my voice across. Woke people, stop trying to eradicate women. So you may be wondering, Dan, what the fuck are you banging on about now? Well, the thing about woke ideology is its followers claim to be all about inclusivity and equality, but that's bullshit. Because for me, if we're looking for equality, if this is the absolute pinnacle, then we need to lift everyone else up to the same level. But woke people don't operate like that. They are happy to tear rights away from other people, often to free themselves from this imagined oppression, to build up their cause. And they take these rights away from people who historically have actually been fucking oppressed. So despite being a straight white guy, which to the screamy people means I'm the devil incarnate, I like to think of myself as quite a modern thinking guy. But also, and crucially, I'm grounded in fucking reality. Now I can identify as this pen, which tells you I've been on the rob in Argos. But no matter how much I identify as this pen, it doesn't change that I'm still a straight white guy. And although wokeness has very little impact on me as a man, it is being used to attack what it is to be a woman. So once again, sadly and predictably, we find ourselves looking at the trans community, and I believe the vast majority of trans people just want to live the best life they can, and I wish them all the best. But as ever, there's this small, vocal minority, and I think I speak on behalf of most of us by saying we're sick to fucking death of hearing from them. They're mostly trans women, or to put it another way, biological men, using their victimhood status to try and claw rights away from biological women. So if we look back to 2016, the widower of a female firefighter who had been posthumously awarded Woman of the Year because she was killed in the 9/11 attacks, gave back her award when it was announced that Caitlyn Jenner was being given the same award, saying it was an insult to his wife's memory. And he's got a point, because what the organisers of that award were saying was that out of all the billions of women walking the earth, the best one had lived for over 50 years as a man. So the message is, to be the best woman, you'd best be born with a cock. Now, for any woke people already crying uncontrollably into their fair trade fucking hummus, we need to make something clear. There is a world of difference between being transphobic and pro-female. I consider myself to be pro-female. So let's look at the way that language is changing to the detriment of the other half of the human race. Around the world, the word mother is being replaced with birthing parent or childbearing parent or even parent in possession of a cervix. These pointless PC terms designed to be inclusive to a tiny minority of non-binary parents. But more to the point, it's for the minority within the minority to appease the screaming people who've got nothing better to do than claim that they're victims. And if you think this sort of language has no consequences, well, a Spanish MP had his Twitter account suspended for making the ridiculous suggestion that men can't have children. That's true, men don't get pregnant. And here in the UK, some branches of the NHS have had to change the term breastfeeding for chest feeding, lest they offend people who identify as men but have breasts and a uterus. And the eradication of women through wokeness doesn't end there. Let's look at this statement, which was read out on NBC News. Ready? Not every woman has a vagina, and not every person who has a vagina is a woman. So these silly woke bastards are saying that someone born with female genitalia and a female reproductive system isn't necessarily female. Once again, people can identify as whatever they want, but that doesn't alter reality. I still am not the fucking pen that I can't find. There it is, I was sat on it. At last year's Women's March in New York, women were told that if they focus their femininity around having female genitalia, they must reconsider because they're being transphobic. Is it just me that struggles with this, or are we one step away from a doctor being jailed for saying that women have double X chromosomes because that'll become a fucking hate crime? And if it isn't yet clear that the woke police aren't openly hating biological women, let's have a look at this tweet from last year. Cis womanhood is violence. Cis women's attachment to genitalia is violence. Scroll forward a little. Cis women's notions of femininity are violent. Womanhood is a construct that is not exclusive to women. So let's break this down. If you are a real woman, everything you think, say and do is perpetuating violence towards people who aren't women but are pretending to be. Biological men finding more and more inventive ways to attack women. Aren't they fucking vile? And if that wasn't enough, some woke people are attacking women for not wanting to be sexually objectified. So, this chap, who has apparently escaped from the circus, had this to say. Women around the world have been treated as sexual objects. Yet, if sexual objectification is so categorically awful, then why do I want it so badly? I want to be sexually objectified. The idea that being seen as a sex object is universally a bad thing is too simple, like many tenets of feminism. So in response, I'll say this. Well, Jacob, my old china, let's hazard a guess at why you're happy to be a sex object. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's because you're a fucking pervert. No level of depravity is too low for you. And secondly, you're a man. You're larger and stronger than most women. If it came down to it, there's a fair chance you could fight off your attacker. Most women don't have that option, and your lack of empathy shows what an utter fucking bastard you are. Even the word woman itself isn't safe from wokeness, as we can see from this condescending tweet. For those too lazy to look it up, fuck off, you prick. Womenx is an alternative spelling to avoid the generalised sexism and to be inclusive of trans and non-binary women. Note, they spelled the word woman correctly at the end of the sentence. I know this video has been short on jokes, but do you see what I'm getting at? The language is being changed to sort of push women to one side, and anyone who speaks up against it is thrown under the bus and labelled a transphobe. But the same thing isn't happening to the language around men. No one's telling me to change the way I refer to myself. And I believe that's because if these silly woke bastards tried it with men, then the fabled toxic masculinity would come out and the woke crusader would be on the ground in a puddle of blood looking for their fucking teeth. But why am I investing my time and effort on this subject? Well, to paraphrase the brilliant comedian Dave Chappelle, who himself recently came under fire from woke stormtroopers, for women to progress, they're going to need to accept the help of flawed male allies. And I agree with that 100%, because if we listen to woke people who insist it's only guys like me, straight middle-aged white guys, who have our voices heard, then it's my duty to fucking use it. And of course, the problem isn't just this tiny minority of screaming trans and non-binary people. It's also their toxic allies who always fuck everything up. These are like the white people who go to BLM marches, throw shit at the police and then fuck off when the tear gas arrives. And even though I'm a cisgendered straight white guy, I feel no sense of shame or guilt about it, because I didn't have any say in the matter, and neither does anyone else. So women shouldn't feel compelled to change the language they use to describe themselves just to appease a few people with severe mental illnesses. That's the end of this video. As ever, thanks for watching.